today's electromagnetic world, trust nature's call when it comes to ultimate health. Cell phones, cordless phones, cell towers, Wi-Fi, smart meters. Are you worried about your EMF exposure? There are solutions. Welcome to ElectricSense, where healthy living never felt so good. And now, your host.
Hi, I'm your host, Kimberly Henrie, and I'm here with Lloyd Burrell, author of Long-Term EMF Protection, Start Feeling Better Today, and webmaster at electricsense.com. And today we'll be talking with Lloyd about EMFs around the home and how to protect yourself. Now, before Lloyd joins us, just a reminder that if you have questions or require assistance, you can reach Lloyd at electricsense.com. And you can join us on Facebook at facebook.com/electricsensehealth. Lloyd, great talking with you today.
Good to speak to you, Kimberly.
We have talked about EMFs several times over the last few weeks, and today we're going to kind of readdress some of the subjects we've talked about before, EMFs in the home. But we didn't have time to cover it all the way last time, right?
Correct.
So we're going to get a little deeper.
Yeah.
So why is EMFs in the home something that we need to address and be concerned about, especially giving it 2 episodes of your podcast?
Well, obviously, EMFs per se is something which needs to be addressed because there are so many studies which tell us that EMFs are dangerous. And there are more and more studies. I can't stress that enough. We don't always hear of the studies, but they are out there. For instance, this last week, the Israeli study that came out that talked about the molecular changes, including cell mutations that can cause cancer, which was much more prevalent amongst heavy cell phone users. So there's studies, coming out all the time on this. Now, EMF exposures in the home are particularly important because it's a place where EMFs are increasingly prevalent, notably because of Wi-Fi and cordless phones, which we've talked about before. So that's pretty obvious. But there are more and more electrical devices, all kinds of electrical devices now in the modern home. And particularly the nature of these devices, lots of these energy-saving devices, which are actually high EMF devices. So, any electrical device is a source of EMFs. But what the thing about the home is, it's somewhere where we all spend quite a lot of time. Some of us more than others, because there's more and more people working from home. And the other important thing, very important thing, is the nature of the time we spend in the home. That's to say, most of our time, or most of us anyway, spend our sleep time in the home, and this is critical.
It is, and I talked to you before about the fact that I had switched my own habit of keeping my cell phone and my tablet right next to my bed, and how much that has helped me to stop that. So it really does make an impact. I mean, it's not a scientific study, but that's been my experience. Why is that?
Because nighttime is a special time for your body. There's all kinds of cellular processes going on, rejuvenation, regeneration, detox. And it's also a time when your body produces melatonin. And studies tell us that EMF exposures inhibit all these cellular processes and this production of melatonin. So EMFs can disrupt sleep cycles, and they can contribute to lots of health issues like allergies, heart palpitations, weakened immune system, and worse, because they make your cells vulnerable.
So we're just more vulnerable at night because that's when our body's restoring itself.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's when your body's doing its maintenance.
That makes perfect sense. You also talked about melatonin, which is a hormone. Why is that important in context of EMFs? Well,
that's correct. Melatonin is a hormone, and it's a hormone which is created by the pineal gland, and it's created primarily at nighttime when you sleep. And there's been studies done on this. They show that melatonin has an important role to play in cancer protection, prevention from heart disease, preventing heart disease, maintaining brain function and immunity. And the studies also tell us that EMF exposures lower our melatonin levels. Nighttime EMF exposures lower our melatonin levels. So that given your body produces melatonin essentially at night, this is why it's so important to reduce your nighttime exposures of EMFs. So what you're saying to me about you removed your phone and your cordless phone and so on, you're absolutely right. And to go further, unplug your electrical devices in your bedroom, because whatever these devices are plugged in, even if they're not switched on, you've got electric fields. And eliminate also things like CFLs, complex fluorescent lights, which is another high EMF source. And obviously switch off your Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm. I still have yet to make that step, but that's next on the list. So reducing EMF exposures in the bedroom and reducing wireless exposures is kind of the first step. I'm on part 2 of that first step to dealing with EMFs in the home. But what are some other things that we can do?
Well, yeah, because it's not all about wireless. It's not all about the Wi-Fi, and it's not all about the cordless phones. It's about lots and lots of other things. So, for instance, microwave ovens. I've mentioned this before, and kind of people are more and more aware of the dangers of microwave ovens. But very high source of radio frequency radiation when it's switched on, and also magnetic fields, tremendously high compared to many other electrical appliances in the home. But even your regular electric oven, electric cooker, EMFs, a potential source of and a source of EMFs, not a potential, a source of EMFs. Don't stand in front of it. When you're cooking, don't kind of lean against it.
Wow.
Electrical induction cookers, particularly, a lot of people got these, so they're kind of the glass surface one because they're easier to clean, and they're great, okay, but they're also a source of high magnetic fields. Your dishwasher, just your ordinary dishwasher, a source of EMF. So kind of don't lean against it or don't sit against it, when it's switched on. Your TV, we've all got TVs all over our homes now. Same thing, another source of EMFs. Also something which few people are aware of is your electrical. It often comes as a surprise.
Your electrical wiring, like in the walls of your home, is what you're talking about.
I'm talking about, yeah. So you don't think about them because, as you say, they are in the walls of your home and you can't see them. And we tend to think, my wiring's safe because, it's all been installed and tested by a qualified electrician. But not always the case, unfortunately. In fact, very often not the case. Because wiring errors are quite common, and after all, electricians are humans, and and the error to error is human.
Right.
And the thing is, strangely enough, most electricians know very little about this subject. I mean, that can sound ironic, but it's true. Most electricians don't know a lot about EMFs, and sadly, a lot of them they're not very sympathetic to this topic because it's not something they learn, when it's not out of the kind of the code which they have to learn. They understand they have to respect the code, but they don't. The sort of the EMF aspect is one which is overlooked, and so they don't understand the importance of certain aspects of what they're doing from an EMF point of view.
And
so they understand about electrical shocks, but they don't necessarily understand about EMFs.
I was just going to say they're probably at a higher risk than most of us because of the work that they do.
Absolutely, but the thing is, really, it's we are also at risk because if you're living in a home which has not been wired properly, then your EMF exposures can be sky high, and you can be totally unaware of it. Because as you said to me, you can't see these EMFs, you can't feel them, you can't touch them. So just very quickly, two common wiring errors. There's a very common one is grounding errors. So, every home should be grounded. You've probably heard about this, you know about this. But grounding is essential to keep the electrical distribution system neutral. And so if you're not properly grounded, basically it means your electricity supply is going to be grounding through you, because electricity is always going looking for the path of least resistance. It's trying to find its way, back to the substation. And the second kind of typical error is well, there's like 3 wires in a cable. So you've got your phase, your neutral, and your earth. And what can happen is the phase and the neutral are not put together, and this is a common source of electromagnetic fields. So the phase and neutral wires are not on together, and so phase and neutral cancel each other out. So we've a loss of balance, and this can be a major source of magnetic fields.
So what I'm gathering from all of this is that the EMFs, and it's starting to sink in after we've talked about it for a few weeks now, that EMFs, like electrical shock, you can usually see the source of something that's going to cause you a shock, like an outlet or poor wiring.
Yeah.
But EMFs can be hidden behind walls and in appliances. You don't see. You
don't see. And what you do see is after, X many months, years, or longer, you see ill health and you don't understand why. And then, I get lots of people. I got somebody sent me an email just the other day talking about this very thing, grounding errors. And that's really what brought me to talk, to want to speak to you about it today, because it's so important. And they experienced forget what I don't think it was cancer now, but there's so many diseases obviously which can be linked to this, but it's and they had an electrician in, and there it was, the grounding was like only 10% effective. So if it was like they didn't really have a ground, so their electricity supply was grounding through them.
Wow. Well, this has been very informative. And if this conversation is striking a chord with you, I encourage you to listen back to Lloyd's podcast episode on measuring EMFs. You can also download Lloyd's EMF protection free report at electricsense.com. That's www.electricsense.com. And you can reach out to Lloyd on Twitter at Lloyd Burrell. And you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/electricsensehealth. And if you can think of someone who might benefit from what we've covered here today, they will definitely thank you for forwarding this information on to them. I've certainly learned a lot from our conversations. So, Lloyd, thank you so much for sharing with us
Thank you,
today.
Kimberly.
Thanks for listening. To join our discussion, visit us on Facebook at facebook.com/electricsense.